My husband is a very live out loud type of person. As soon as I met him, I knew that I wanted to be around him because he's just a very charismatic individual. He reaches out to people. He cares about them. He loves on them. So that's kind of him in a nutshell. He's a pastor. So that kind of goes with the territory. And he's a teacher. He thought he never wanted to work around young people, but that's been his life for the past over 20 years. He's also a very good husband and a very good father.
I got heart disease from a virus that attacked my heart. It happened like mid-November 2000. I was in heart failure for about a month and a half. New Year's Eve, woke up spitting up this like pink milky mucus from my lungs. Went to the hospital, they did a bunch of tests, and they said 3 to 5 years or else I'd be dead or need a transplant. I made it 19 years on a really bad heart. So 2018, I started feeling really just not myself. I needed more sleep to recover. Like on my days off, I'd sleep till 11. Everything was effort at this point. Once school, like the end of school, things weren't working right in my body. And I went to the doctors and they said, your lungs are completely full of fluid. You have pneumonia. So that's what we thought it was. But lo and behold, that night I woke up, 12:30 in the morning or 12:30 at night, pulled myself out of bed, crawled down the stairs. My wife was still watching TV and I was like, honey, I'm dying. You got to take me to the hospital.
And I guess the whole time leading up to this, we kept thinking it was other things. I think deep in my spirit, I had known that he probably was an end-stage heart failure, but you just don't want to come to terms with it. You're hoping that it's something else. So when he's telling me this, my first initial reaction was, well, I'm just going to take his temperature. They said he had pneumonia. We're just going to see. And his temperature, he wasn't fevered. He was the opposite. It was like 95 point something. So I'm like, oh my gosh, we have to go to the hospital like now. So I called the emergency room.
And they're like, look, he can't leave here without a heart or an LVAD. And his other organs are starting to fail. A new heart won't survive in his body. So they made a decision, and then the next morning at like 4:30, I got the surgery. This is the pump that was in my heart. So this part right here, they cut a hole in your heart and shove that in, and then they stitch it to attach it. And then this line here came out of my abdomen and went into the controller, and I carried the batteries. So, but yeah, they gave me this as like sort of a memento of, of my time having the LVAD. This had to happen. I was going to die, or else they had to put this in. Like, I kissed my kids goodbye and thought I may not wake up on this side of eternity. I may wake up staring at the face of Jesus, and that's that.
I can't actually say that I walked through the entire thing thinking that he will make it. Right after he had the LVAD surgery, the doctors met with me, and they said that it was more difficult than most because his heart was so large and they didn't anticipate that. So they actually had to try to place the pump and then replace it. So there was a lot of blood. They decided to keep his chest cavity open, which is not uncommon after open heart surgery, but he was on a ventilator. And for 5 days, he remained on the ventilator. And it definitely was over July 4th because it was July 4th I will never forget. July 2nd was the surgery. I remember talking to my mom and thinking like, I don't know where this is going. And it was very hard for me because Clinton and I are very close and we talk about everything. So to not talk to him about this, that was one of the most difficult things that I walked through my entire life. It was the day that they said we're finally taking him off the ventilator. I could not wait to get to the hospital. And he was already off the ventilator and he said, come give me a kiss. I give him a small kiss because I'm like, is this even allowed? And he's like, no, give me a real one. So I had to give him a real kiss.
We finally came to a conclusion that they would list me around Thanksgiving. And they did, and they thought I'd have a heart within 2 weeks. Well, God had other plans. Made it through Christmas. March hits. Kind of things go on the back burner. I'm living with the LVAD. I'm functioning fine. And then that's when I get the call up April 21st. And you just got to get your mindset around it because, like, you realize you're having open heart surgery again. So, like, 2 open heart surgeries in less than a year is not exactly, I would wish on my worst enemy. I had to walk in the hospital with all my batteries and my gear by myself. She wasn't allowed in at all. Told the guard, I'm here for a heart transplant. And he said, no, you're not. And I said, yeah, who I am. Who would lie about that? The transplant was a lot harder on recovery and post than LVAD was.
So it was very hard for me as a wife to not go into the hospital with him when he was having the transplant. And every time the doctor had an update, she was very good to call me, and everything was good news. So that was very reassuring and very comforting. We do not take it lightly that somebody had to lose their life in order for Clint to get this heart. That's a very heavy thing for us. And our gratitude, though, for that family that was willing to give their loved one's heart to him, that is something that we do not take lightly. And it made me even look at organ donation in a whole new way, that it is a sacrificial thing that family and that person did for somebody else to be able to allow their life to go on. It means more than they'll ever know. I was 23 years old when he got heart disease, and then here we are, like 5 years after transplant, and what that looks like and how amazing it is that he's doing as well as he's doing. I can't even believe it. What an amazing thing to be able to walk your daughter down the aisle, hold her first child, see your son graduate from college next year, like all these things that aren't possible without doctors and nurses and medical technology and God and support. And wow.